I would rate this next guest a 100. My man Cole Cubelic of the SEC Network. Nobody knows football. Nobody knows line play like my guy Cole. He's an excellent follow on Twitter. Listen to him on the SEC Network. He's also on 3 Man Front W Jocks. Cole, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well, T-Bob. Good to be with you again, man. Hope you're doing well as well.
Yes, yeah, I am doing well. Okay, hey, I have I want to start here. So when the Big Ten went conference only and then the Pac-12 went conference only, I assumed that it was only a matter of time before the rest of the Power Five followed suit, which is why I find it very interesting to now read that there seems to almost be an alliance of sorts forming, a triumvirate between the Big 12, ACC, and SEC to try to keep some of these out-of-conference games, maybe move to like a conference in one, conference in two type of schedule. What was your reaction when you read these whispers?
Well, let's just follow up on last week. And are you essentially labeling the Big Ten as Darth Vader?
How so? In what way?
Well, you said that there's an alliance forming with the other conferences, so obviously they would have to be going up against the dark side there if that was the case.
Well, no, I mean, look, I'm not here to make moral judgments on who's good, who's bad in this scenario. I view it more like a global pandemic, like they have always done throughout human history, has caused a major fracturing, right? And everybody normally retreats within their own city walls and they shut off all communication on the outside. However, that creates a power vacuum. Within that vacuum, I think that these three conferences are recognizing the opportunity that they have to maintain and retain some of these games from a revenue standpoint. But then also, if there are things like a college football playoff, having these games and wins like these would go a long way towards stating those cases when it's going to be even more subjective selecting teams to get in the championship. So I don't know if I view it as a good, bad thing. I view it as a power play from the ACC, SEC, and Big 12.
I think a lot of this, too, T-Bob, is just why make those decisions now or 2 weeks ago?
Yes, and they did seem upset with the Big Ten for that. I agree that kind of came out through the lines.
Yeah, listen, I have my theories as to why that happened. I mean, I think if you look at Kevin Warren's background, commissioner of the Big Ten, he has a legal background. He's a lawyer. He spent some time in the NFL, which tells me that NFL is going to go do what they want to do. Don't really have to have permission from a lot of other folks. Maybe the legal portion of that is that he wanted to try to avoid some sort of lawsuit via collusion if all the Power Five said we're just playing a conference schedule at the same time, because then you'd be looking at 80 group of five teams, maybe even 90 to 100 group of five teams and FCS teams that could say, well, hold on, you guys got together and collectively cost us, I don't know what that total is, $120 million, $85 million of payouts for us to come play in your stadiums. I don't know if that's even real. I don't know if in a pandemic you could even find a way to win some sort of a lawsuit like that. And then, too, I think it may give his team outs as far as those non-conference games that they had scheduled. So you look at an Ohio State or a Penn State or a Michigan non-conference game, and that opponent says, well, hold on now, we had a contract here. We still want our money, or we want the $250,000 buyout, whatever it is. And they say, well, wait, we want to play that game. Our commissioner is not allowing us to play that game. This is being relegated by the Big Ten, not us. So this is not on us. So I do think that if you really begin to peel back some of the layers, there could be some legal ramifications, some CYA that were taking place with why the Big Ten decided to go ahead and make that decision. Pac-12, not overly concerned. I mean, they were the caboose in this whole thing anyway. They're just following along. But I do agree with you that there are opportunities that might be available. We don't know if they're going to be available yet, and that's why I think flexibility is going to be key with however these schedules play out. But there will be opportunities between Big 12 teams, between ACC teams, and there's rivalries there. Let's be honest.
Yes.
Georgia Tech, South Carolina, Clemson, Kentucky, Louisville, those all had a chance to be big, meaningful games this fall. And then you have other ACC, SEC games that were already scheduled. If you want to count Notre Dame, Arkansas, you can. Auburn, North Carolina was going to be, I think one of the
very
biggest
intriguing
games of the year.
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
People just forget Mississippi State and NC State had a game scheduled, Georgia, Virginia. So, and I think the geography might allow some of those games to take place more easily than some other non-conference games. But I'll say this, what I do know about the SEC and a lot of the athletic directors in the SEC is they want some non-conference games. And I think the league and a lot of the ADs want to try to get to 12. That's surprising to me.
Really?
Because I think we're all talking about subtraction right now and sort of compressing this thing. But I think there are some people inside of that meeting on Monday that want to try to get to 12 games. That's why I think it's still on the table. I was surprised to see that come out of that meeting on Monday. But, again, we don't know what this is going to look like. I think that we still have some time to sort of figure it out. And I think it's going to be changing probably even after it's announced. It'll change some.
Yeah. And that seems to be, I mean, they're definitely going to try to, I think, codify some sort of fluidity in all of this to allow for some things to be moved around. Yeah, I mean, I guess I hadn't even considered 12, Cole. I've just been of the opinion that something like 8 conference games and 2 out of conference, or if you're in the ACC or the Big 12, 9 conference games and 1 out of conference would make a lot of sense. And I think the rivalry games that you mentioned probably get saved first. And then, you mentioned Auburn, North Carolina, right? And then there's also things like LSU, Texas. I think that's a game that people definitely want to keep on the books if they can. Let's talk LSU, Texas. Let's allow ourselves to forget about all this outside noise. Entering the season, where do those two teams stand in relation to each other?
I would probably have – tough because this is like it's a tennis match between, it's a back and forth between what I like and don't like about either team. I like the culture at LSU a little bit better. I think that you've got a good offensive line, you've got a good quarterback, a quarterback that's proven some pretty good skill, and I think that you have a front seven for Texas that's going to be better than people imagine. I think overall speed, athleticism is still going to probably rely with LSU. I think LSU would be able to do some interesting things defensively because of the 3 to 5 man rotation up front, not necessarily having to load the box to stop the run. And some of the hybrid defenders that they have would benefit them playing against a Texas team that can spread you out the way that they can. I would be a little bit concerned that early in the season about the LSU offensive line and how they've gelled, how they've come together against a group that I saw in person against Utah play really good football, and that's when they were finally healthy. They were banged up on that side of the ball most of the year. So I think they're really close. I think because of the culture, because of the leadership, and because of how close the majority of the guys on that LSU football team have been and seen what it takes to be successful, I might lean LSU a little bit in that game right now. Even if there's no fans, being at home is going to help LSU. So I think I would probably just barely like LSU in that game right now, but I don't think that they would need – LSU got into a couple track meets last year, and it worked, and it was fine. That was their style. I don't think they could play that kind of a game against that Texas team because I think they're too good at quarterback. I think they're too good up front, and I think the skill are too good as well. But I think physically LSU would have a bit of an edge. And if that offensive line's playing good football together, then I think that would probably be the difference. Because they can neutralize that Texas front seven, then I think they could cause some problems.
Let's stay on this out-of-conference thought train here, Cole, because you mentioned another game which, quite honestly, I did not even realize was scheduled until I was reading about games that were potentially in peril, and that was UNC-Auburn. And obviously Auburn is looking to build off of what was a very up and down season last year. But when you look at UNC and you look at what they did last year, and then you look at the recruiting class that they're putting together right now, who is doing a better job in the country right now than Mac Brown is with the Tar Heels?
Not many folks. Especially if you're talking about, a consistent climb. I mean, obviously, Coach O's coming off a national championship, and they're doing great in recruiting. So, I don't think you're going to say that Mac is necessarily doing better than what Coach O is right now. I'm not putting him ahead of Dabo or Saban, maybe not even Ryan Day, but he's now in that mix. And wow. The thing that would make me nervous as an Auburn fan is kind of similar to what I said about that Texas LSU game, except the opposite side for Auburn. You get a track meet in that game, you're in big trouble. Because I'm going to tell you, Daz Newsome and some of those receivers for North Carolina, they can flat out go. And they've got a legit guy pulling the trigger. Sam Howell's a legit quarterback, and they've got weapons everywhere. Now, up front, physically on both sides of the ball, I say it's advantage Auburn. Even with 4 new starters on that offensive line, I just don't think that North Carolina defensive line is one that's going to be super problematic. Auburn's got to find a way to run the football. If they would win that game, they've got to find a way to make life a little bit easier on Bo Nix. But so many of the questions with Auburn's offense come with, okay, what does the menu look like for Chad Morris? What's play calling look like in the distribution and the handing off between he and Gus Malzahn? Is Chad Morris able to design it the way that he wants to and run it the way that he wants to? Pace, tempo, things like that. We don't know. And those are things that have been problematic for Auburn in the past. Yes, you lose Marlon Davidson. Yes, you lose Derek Brown. But that set of linebackers that Auburn's got coming back, Owen Popo and Kenny Brett, they're going to be really good. Chandler Wooten, Jacoby McClain. I mean, they've got a linebacking room that is probably deeper than anybody in the SEC. Still have Big Cat Bryant, T.D. Moultrie on the edge up front on that defensive line. I thought Tyrone Truesdale played pretty good ball last year. And I think they got a group of safeties that are going to be solid. Christian Tutt and Smoke Monday, I think they've got playmakers back there, and they'll move some of those guys around to offset some things. But you'll be a little bit young at corner, which against a great group of receivers and an offense that's going to go fast is dangerous. I mean, Auburn's got to make that a slugfest. And if they can do that, they'll win that game. But if they try to go back and forth and trade touchdowns, I would lean North Carolina. I think that would be, if we get to see it, that's going to be a heck of a football game.
So I went on an Auburn podcast the other day, and I asked their host this question. I'll pose it to you as well. What's your SEC West hierarchy entering this season? I don't care about the bottom half as much. I just want to know what that top half looks like.
Alabama's first right now.
Sure.
I go back and forth between LSU and A&M day to day. Today I'd probably lean LSU, but it's just I like A&M's schedule so much.
Yeah, you pointed that out on the show. You're absolutely right. They should start 9-1.
Yeah, I think they could. They could have a late season collapse and still finish with double-digit wins. I mean, it's just so. I'll probably go Alabama, LSU, A&M, and then Auburn.
Okay.
Today, I think the Mississippi schools are interesting because we don't really know what we're going to get. Like nobody's talking enough about KJ Costello. I mean, that guy's played legit Power 5 competition and put up multiple 300-yard passing games. If he's healthy, he's a really good quarterback. And they've got the best running back in the SEC, in my opinion, with some pretty good receivers. Now, they haven't been on the practice field very much together. It's a totally new offense. And when you're talking about what are your splits supposed to look like, what's the depth supposed to look like in certain alignments, what's motion supposed to look like when you break and routes off, the timing, all of that's big in that offense. So they're at a major disadvantage with what they're trying to install. And then I think when you go to Ole Miss, you look at John Rice Plumlee and say, how's he going to be utilized? Because he was a perfect fit for what they were doing last year. I don't know if he's a perfect fit for what they're doing now. But they got a ton of young weapons offensively. And I think they've got a few guys on defense that can continue to help make them better. But, I mean, I thought Ole Miss was in a great spot from a coaching staff last year. I didn't think they needed to make that move. Not that Lane's not a good coach, but I thought they were set up to really have a nice year this year. And now, because some of the pieces maybe don't fit, you have a lot of question marks.
Wrapping up here with Cole Cubelic at Cole Cubelic, SEC Network. Cole, Mario or Sonic? Do you have an opinion?
I mean, I played a lot of Sonic, but I'd probably go Mario. Especially depends on which one. I mean, the OG Super Mario Brothers was always great.
You talking NES or Super NES?
Oh no, NES.
Okay,
man, before your time.
Yeah, that's a little before me.
And then I think it was 3 when he had like the little raccoon.
Yeah,
tail
the Tanuki suit. Yeah, Super Mario Brothers 3. It's excellent. Tanuki suit, you fly. It's great.
Yeah, that one was kind of a game changer and pretty cool. So I don't feel like Sonic ever evolved as much as Mario did. I could be wrong, but I'll go Mario.
I think you're actually exactly right. I think you're exactly right, Cole. Cole Cubelic, he is right about all things. Talks football with us every single Friday. Brought to you by Tex Morris. He is the man. Shout out Tex. Shout out Cole. Cole, thanks so much, man.
Thanks a lot, T-Bob.
Have a great weekend.
To like or not to like? That is the question.
And I'd like you to answer that question by smashing that like button, subscribing to Off the Bench, and then clicking on one of these wonderful videos. You missed Coach O stopping by OTB on Tuesday. Well, that's right there. And then look at this. Pelicans, Saints, Tigers, everything your Louisiana heart desires right here on Off the Bench. Check us out live, 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel. Listen to us 7 to 10 a.m. each and every weekday. We'll see you then on OTB.